Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So as I stated in the last video about the peony, this time I'm going to do an open peony. It's a bit of a different colour. It's one that I've been trying to get hold of for quite a long time. Unfortunately I can't show you the flower because we've had the rain, and as usual when peonies are out the rain ruins them. So I'm going to take you down to my board. Right, so the cutters that I'm going to use rose petal cutters for this, because unlike the other peonies, they do have more of a straighter edge on this particular one, and it is an open peony. So I've got the largest rose petal cutter and the next one down, then I've got the smallest rose petal cutter, and then this one is about 2 sizes larger. And that's going to be used for the calyx. That's going to be used for the centre of this part. It's got quite an unusual centre as this particular peony. So I'm going to get on with it now, and when I find my green paste, where did I put it? There. I'm going to start with the centre first. I would recommend you make this and then you let it dry thoroughly before you do anything else with this. So you need to start off with a small ball of paste to do the centre. Now the centre is slightly smaller than the 4 outer parts. Make that into a cone, like that. Just pop that to one side. And then you want 4 pieces of paste, hopefully of equal sizes. About the size of a marifat pea. That one's too small, so we want some more paste on that one. Slightly a bit on the small side. Tiny bit more in there. Better. Bit more on that one. Near enough. Right, so again, you're going to roll them into a cone like that. Don't worry about anything being too long on the others, because you'll see in a minute why that doesn't matter. Right, so you need something with a small end on it to make a hole. I've got a metal Dresden tool here, so I'm going to use that to make that. So you get the comb between your fingers and then go into the centre and make a hole in the centre, like that. You may have to readjust this when it comes to the next bit, but for now, like usual when it comes to the petals and that, I'm only going to do one of each because I've already got all my petals already dry. Small centre one. You might have to do this again. One of the advantages of working with this flexible paste is that it doesn't dry out very quickly. You've got plenty of time to work with it, unlike normal flour paste. Probably have to do that again. Right, so what I need now is some pink. And what I've done is the last peony that I did, the deep burgundy one, I've used some of the paste I left over with that and just added some white into it to get it down to about that colour, which matches up quite well with the peony that I've got in my garden. So you only need a very small piece. Don't get carried away and do loads of it because they're very tiny of these. So I'm just going to roll that out. Get that as thin as you can. It is a bit more difficult to roll out small pieces of paste like this. And it might have helped if I'd have put some white fat on my board before I did it. I just wiped it down, so that's why it's not sticking. There we are. It's better. A bit. There we are. Now it's sticking. Right, so I'm going to get the smallest cutter and I'm going to cut out 4 of those. 1, 2, 3. Turn that round the other way. 4. And oops, I'll get my petals and I'm going to put them onto my pad. You can see how thin they are. You can see the palette knife through it, really thin. And then with your ball tool, I'm just going to go around the edge of it and thin the edges. Sorry about that. My dog's heard something and he's going bananas as usual. So I'm going to use the small cell pin for the next stage. So turn it round so that the point is away with you. Just be a second, I'll just go shut the dog up. Sorry about that, I've told him off. Right, so if you get your cell pin at one side of it, lift the petal up and then roll it over your cell pin like that. And it's quite sticky as this paste, so you can just slide it off your cell pin and then just thin down the bottom part of it. Yes, I know it's fiddly. It's something you need to take your time with. Whoops. That's my phone making noises now, telling me to drink water. Chance, quiet. And just in case you didn't notice on the video at the beginning, I've had to have another operation for skin cancer on my ear, and on the other side they had to take a piece of skin to do a skin graft, so I've got plaster on the other side as well, on the right hand side. So yes, I'm going through the wars again, but as they say, it's better out than in, because skin cancer, melanomas and things like that can spread to other parts of your body. So as far as I'm concerned, get it off. Right, now I've done all those, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to get the point downwards and I'm going to take a little bit of that off the bottom because it's a bit too long is that. So if I get my palette knife and just cut off a piece off the bottom there. Right, so you get one of those and I'm going to roll it round and I need something with a thin edge. I think I've got a smaller set. Yes, I have. No, it's the same size. That's too thick. Find something with that's very thin. I'll use about the wire. I'm going to use the wire on the one that I've made to do this bit, because what you need to do is to get it inside that, like that. Get your piece that you've made your hole in, and then push that down into there, like that. And because this paste is quite sticky, it will stick without having to put any glue on it. Get that to stand up, then just roll that round a bit against above it, like that. And get the small one and do that first, because I need to put that onto a wire. I'm just going to open that up again a bit in the centre. And then get a piece of one of these little flowery bits and push that into there, like that. If need be, just go around the outside just to push it in. Make sure it's attached. Sorry, went a bit off camera there. And then just reshape that. At the top there. And then I should have a wire here somewhere, spare wire. Here we are. And because it's quite sticky, this paste, you can put some glue on if you want, but I don't find that it's necessary. I'm going to put the 20 gauge wire into the base of that. And then I'm just going to work that down onto the wire so that that's well and truly stuck. And then we go on to the other three of the flowers, and I've cut one too few out. I've only done 4 instead of 5. Again, push that down into the, picked a little bit of the piece that I've cut off there. Push that down into there. Try and keep it straight up if you can. And then just neaten that up at the top. So make sure that's attached. Pop that to one side. Get the next one. That's gone in fairly straight as that one. Just ease that down on one side. There we are. I just need to cut out another one to do that last one. Move that out of the way. just in case you hadn't noticed, it's come off the wire with the one that I'd already done earlier. But I will put that right. Right, so that's my last petal. Onto the pad. Oops. Oh, I'm dropping things all over the place here. I'm having one of those days. Thin your edges, turn it round. Cell stick on it. If you haven't got a cell stick, use a cocktail stick or something like that. Might be a good idea before you do this to grease it so it slides off easier, and I've dropped that as well. Right, I'll come back in a minute when I've sorted that out. Right, I've got myself sorted out, I've got my bits and pieces all done, so then I've got my centre. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit of glue on here, just on one side for a start off, and then I'm going to attach one there. Whoops. Might be a good idea if you put it down for this. Press that onto there like that. And the other one at the other side like that. Then we'll turn that over. And then put a bit more glue on the other side. And then press the other two on like that. Then what I did with this, hang on, come off. Put those back on again. There and there. And there. And just keep my hands underneath it like that. And then lay that down somewhere flat to dry. Now another thing that you can do, this is optional, there is actually a line that goes up the outside of each of these pods, so you can do that with your cutting wheel. Just keep your finger on it to keep it in place. That goes up there, that goes up there, then turn it over and that goes up there, and that goes up there. And they're sliding round a bit, these, because until it's dry they're not safe. So I'm just going to leave that to dry. So I'm going to put that onto my foam pad out of the way to dry. As long as you leave it flat, it should be alright. So you need to leave it at a minimum of 24 hours before you do anything else with that. Now then, the one that came off the wire, I'll just re-affix that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some glue on my wire here, and then put that back into there. That's it. That's quite firm, is that? So that's done, that bit. Now then, the stamens. So I've used white cotton for this. Now to get 4 lots of stamens, which are going to look like this, I wound the cotton round 4 fingers. I'm only going to do it round 1 because I'm only going to do 1 lot of stamens for you. So you need to go around about 50 times. We've got the 3 there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Sorry. 50. Right, so I've gone round 50 times. Just cut that cotton off there. put that bobbin of cotton away. It needs to be cotton. Make sure it's cotton, not polyester. I had to go on eBay to find this because a lot of shops these days are only selling the polyester thread. And I managed to find a firm on eBay that did a box of black and white cotton. So if you're going to use a lot of it, it's worth doing that. Right, then what you need to do then is, if I'd done it round 4 fingers, I'll just cut that in half because that's a bit too long. And get 4 wires, so you want one at one side, one at the other side, and then do the same in the middle there. And then bend that over, like that. I'm only going to do one of these because I've already done most of my others. So get your cotton like that, wire bent over, and twist. And twist it as tight as you can. So it holds the cotton like that. And then get a pair of scissors, cut the cotton like that. And then trim it off. Now that's a little bit too long, is that? So I'm just going to take a bit off of the top there. It's like cutting hair. Get it between your fingers and cut with your scissors. Just to trim it off and trim it straight. So if you haven't got all your threads exactly the same length, it doesn't matter. Then what you need to do then is just to turn it round the other way and make sure you've got it straight and there's no straggly pieces sticking up. Like that. I've done this a bit bigger than I did with my other flowers, just to show you. Hang on a minute. I've got some short ones there. I'll take some more off of there. Get rid of all my bits of thread off of there. So I don't want them on there when I'm rolling paste out. Make sure I've got it all. Trouble is with working on a whiteboard, when you're using white cotton you can't always see it all. Get rid of that. So what you need then is some tape. Stretch the end to release the glue. That's the sticky side. So what I'm going to do then is, whoops, bear with me a sec. Dropped it. Right, so that's the sticky side. Then get your tape round your wire. Like that, and just bring the camera back down there so you can see what I'm doing. Make sure that you get it in with your nail, make sure that's nice and tight, and then roll between your finger and thumb like that. Then what you're going to do is angle the tape up as you pull the cotton together. This is the fiddly bit. It might take you a while to work this out, but once you get it onto the cotton, keep going until you've got it wrapped around the cotton, holding that in place. Just comb that up. That's it. And then back down again to the bottom of your wire. So that's up over the base of your wire, and that'll hold it all together. So if you get a wire or something that you can get in between it, is that thick enough? Let's have a look. Then you can comb the threads to get them all nice and straight, like that. Right, so once I've done that, now I've got a saucer here which has got some colour on it. Now this is liquid colour that I've used, and then I've watered it down with a bit of isopropyl. That's dried since I did the other pieces that I got ready yesterday, so I'm just going to put a bit more isopropyl on. Just let that soak into the colour for a few seconds. And just get my wire in it just to release some of the colour. Last time I reconstituted it didn't take this long because I'm just going to put a bit more colour on there and find what I've done with it. Might have put it away, never mind. Right, so what you need to do, just get my palette knife in and sort of get that working. This is why we never throw anything away or clean it off, because you can reuse it. Saves waste. There we are, got it going now. Now the reason we're using cotton is because if you use nylon thread it won't soak up the colour like this is just going to do. So what you do is you put your threads down into the colour like that. Pick the colour up like that, and you'll notice it's working its way down. So if you just leave it a few seconds, that will work its way down. So what you end up with is a darker bit at the top and then a lighter bit at the bottom, and it starts to work all the way down. So then you get from that to that. Because I'm not using this, I'm just going to carry on with this one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open out those threads a little bit here, because with putting them in the liquid they're stuck together a little bit. See, on some parts it's soaked all the way down now. There's just a few bits where it hasn't soaked down far enough. And then what I'm going to do is, then I've got my pollen here, which, as I've said before in other videos, is ground rice mixed with some powder colour for whatever colours you want, and then you can reuse it. So then I'm going to dip the ends of this into the pollen like that, so you've got some pollen on the edge like that, and then put that to dry. So I've got a piece of kitchen roll here which has got all my stamens on, so just pop it on there and just leave that to dry. So we'll get rid of those and bring those back. And then if you get your centre that you're already made and start some tape off underneath your centre. That's the sticky side. Always start off lower down and then push it up to where you want it to be. Once you've got it worked onto your thing, it's easier without knocking anything off. So we'll get that under there. And then I'm going to leave a little bit of the green showing there because that's going to go underneath there to affix these stamens. Don't matter if you've got any gaps in between them at this particular point, till you've got them all fastened in. That's just come loose again in the centre. Get that back down on the wire. There we are. And the last one going in, like that. Then you can tape down. And I've lost one of my pieces off, and glue that back on in a minute. See where that's come off there. Goes in there. This is why I do, and if anything goes wrong, I don't edit it out, because you need to see how we refix things, and then that goes back into there like that. And then when it's dry, you can come back later and you can adjust all your stamens and comb them all out. So I'm just going to put that to one side for the moment. I'm not going to play about with that because I want that to dry onto there. Right. So, once you've done that, get rid of these wires out of the way. We'll get onto the petals. Now, unlike the other peony that I did, where I glued the first sets of petals on to the centre, with it being an open what I'm going to do is to do the first layer of petals wired, and then glue the last layers of petals onto the wired petals. So, this is how we do this. Right, so I've got some paste here, that I've coloured a peach colour. Oops, that's some of my glue. I've used that. That's some glue paste that I've watered down to stick my petals on. I found it went better than just using glue on its own when attaching the petals. Just get that out of the way. I'm using two sides of the cutters there, that one and that one, for the petals. So you're going to do 5 of these, which will be wired. So that's the first one I'm going to do. Picked a hair up from somewhere there. So this is going to be a wide one, so you don't want to go too thin with this, because you've got to get your ridge, and I'm using my ridge rolling pin. Unless you're using a groove board, then obviously you can go thin, but don't forget to turn it over so you can see where your ridge is to put your wire into. So I'm just going to do that down there, like that. And I'm going to cut one out, like that. And just before I do this, I'm just going to move all my petals that are already dry on my foam, so I've got somewhere to put these. Right, and I'm going to use a 26 gauge wire for this. I should have one here at the side. Yep, got one there. And I cut the wires into 3, so I've got a good long wire on, because of the way we're going to shape the petals, I want the wire to go as far up as I can get it. So I want it to go up at least 3/4 of the way or 2/3 of the way, whichever is your preference. Find which is your clean cut edge on your wire, twist that into the base there, and then between your finger and your thumb, feel your wire go up your petal. So I've gone right up to there with that. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that there, and I'm just going to roll this paste out and cut out the flat ones. I'm just going to do one of each. So you can go a bit thinner with this. And then I'm just going to cut one of each of these out. So that's the large one, and that's the smaller one. Take the paste away. So that's the 3 petals. So that's an unwired one, unwired smaller petal, unwired larger petal. This one you'll need 10 of. 5 of this one, 10 of that one, and 5 of the wired one. So altogether you've got 10 of the smaller one and 10 of the larger one. So I'm just going to pop these onto my pad for a minute. Now I'm not going to thin the edges on these, because I'm going to do the same as I did before. Without using a veiner, I'm going to vein these myself. As you've probably seen, there's quite a few flowers that I've done this on. So turn it over onto your flat side, like that. And then you want one of these tools, silk veining tool. Start from the centre and roll out in a fan motion, like that. On that, and that way. And then get the end of it on your finger, and you're going to go along and you're going to frill the edges. Now on the actual peony, it doesn't have a frilly edge like this, but the trouble is with doing anything in, if it's some movement, it doesn't look lifelike, it just looks dead. So that's that one. Then I'll just pop that down there for a minute, and I'll do the next stage with all of them together, rather than messing about. So we'll get that onto my hand. Again, we're from the centre in a fan motion. Roll out. Roll out. That's stretched the petal slightly, and it's also thinned it on the edge. And again, you're going to frill it even more. And this thins the edge of your petal. So that's why you don't need to use a ball tool on the edge of your petal with this type of flower. You could, if you wanted to, thin the edges there, but you're really not going to see that, so it's a bit pointless really. Get that onto there, and then with the larger one, the same again, into the centre, roll out in a fan motion, roll out in a fan motion, onto the edge of your finger and frill the edges. Right, so once you've done that, then you want your foam pad. Now with your wired one, get it between your finger and your thumb and bend it up and curve it like that. So you've got a curve on your wire. So then when you put it into your foam, you can push it down like that so it cups the petal like that. And then with the petals that you've done without wires, then do the same with those. Into the cup and cup it down like that. And same with the smaller one. Into there like that. Then cup it down. Right, so once you've done those, then we can go back to the flower. And I'm going to risk putting these petals on now because that's still a little bit unstable, that. But you go around and even out your stamens first. I can't do it with this because that's going to come off if I do it. So you get your tape and then start your tape off underneath. Find out which is your sticky side. That's the sticky side. And start your tape off underneath where you've put the stamens in. Like that. And then get your wired petals. And we need to get your finger and thumb there like that and bend that wire back a little bit. And start to tape in your petals. So we'll just get these petals and just bend those wires back a bit. Sometimes the wire can twist in your petal, that's why you need to grab hold of it fairly tightly there so that it doesn't move in the actual petal and you're just bending the wire down. Then that can overlap that one. That's going to go in there. Don't matter if you don't get the wires right down to the tape, because when we've got all these in, now that goes over that one and under the first one. So this one you might have to spend a little bit of time fiddling with it. Oops. There we are. It will go in. Tape that in. And then if you get your wires and pull them down, make sure they're nice and tight in. And then tape down. You can tape all the way to the bottom with this now because we're not going to wire any more petals in. Once you've done this, then you can adjust your petals as you want them. And my centre's come out again. So I'm just going to pop that back in again. Right, so you've got your first layer of petals in. As I say, you can adjust these now how you want them. That's come loose again. I knew that was going to happen. Now, because they've already dried these, we can now, apart from the centre, turn this upside down to do the rest of it. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get my foam over now. That's the one that, these are the ones that I've just made. Just get those out of the way. So I've got all my dried petals here. And then what you can do then is to put that upside down on your foam, and you don't need to touch it now. So what I've got here in my bag when I get this out, just bear with me a second. I've got some paste here that I've mixed with my glue to attach these petals, because I'm only going to attach them just at the base. There we are. That should be alright. Got some more paste to put away in there. Put that away. That centre might fall out again, but I can always sort that out afterwards. Right, I'm going to come back in a minute because I just need to check up on one that I'd already put together. Right. So I'm going to attach my smaller petals first of all. So I just want a small bit of the paste that I've made up. Now you can use your glue as well with this, because for this first layer we need them to stick to the petals there. So I'm just going to go up the sides with the glue. Like that. And then this petal goes, the centre's come out again, over the join of the first petal like that. I'll put that to one side. I'll put that back in when I've finished all of this. Right. So, again, bit of paste at the base, and then glue down the sides. And then that's going to go over the join of the next one. Doesn't matter if they overlap or not with this layer, because see if I can get a position where it stays straight. There we are. It's just a matter of positioning the petals over the join of the previous layer. The reason for doing it this way is so I don't have to move it again now until these have all dried, which could take quite a while to dry. And the last one, which is going to overlap on this one. This is slightly different to the real flower, because the way the real flowers go is the petals are really quite haphazard, shall we say. I'm going to say higgledy-piggledy, which is a British way of describing something that's uneven, but they are. Right, so once you've got that layer on, then you could, if you wanted to, leave that to dry. It's going to go underneath that one, that's it. Right, so I'm going to carry on now with the next layer. So again, we're going to overlap. This time I'm only going to put the glue on this paste mix here. And again, over your join. Right, so that's that layer on. Then we can go on to the next layer. Again, using the same method. Some my paste mix. And last one. Right, now then, once you've done that, I'm just going to pop that to one side for a minute. Get rid of that tape. And I want some green paste. Oh, there it is. So I'm just going to roll out a small bit of green paste. And with the larger of the two small rose petal cutters, I'm going to cut out 3 of these. And these are going to form the calyx. As the flower opens, the flower gets bigger, and it doesn't really get smaller, but it does appear to be smaller because of the flower increasing in size as the petals open. Anybody that grows peonies will know what I mean. Beautiful flowers. Unfortunately, they don't last anywhere near long enough, but if me making them like this out of sugar or cold porcelain or whatever else it is you're working with, they will keep for a hell of a long time. They don't die away like fresh flowers do. Oh, it's there. Thin your edges. Because it's really soft, I'm going to roll it on the edges with these. If you find that it's sticking like that did a little bit there, just roll the edges rather than trying to pull it round like you would normally do with flour paste. My dog's heard something again, so he's off again. It's alright having a guard dog, but they don't know when you're busy doing something else to keep quiet. Right, now you can also, with the big end of your ball tool, cup those like that. Find out which is your bottom. Right, so if you bring the peony back, just move that over there. And then if you glue your calyx then get your pointed end up to your wire like that. Up to that. And on that side there, like that. So that's your calyx done. The centre's fallen out again, but I'll fix that later. So that's what your peony looks like, top, bottom. Right, I can put that to one side now and put that centre over there with it. My bits and pieces, and bringing over the one that I'd already done that I've put together with the centre still attached. So what I'm going to do now with this is I'm going to dust it, and if you bear with me a second, I'll come back in a second when I found the colour that I need. Right, so the colour that I'm going to use for the edge of the petals is one that I haven't used before. I've had this quite a while and I haven't used it yet, and it's one of the lustre dusts from Edible Art, and it's called Wild Strawberry, which is sort of like a pinky, reddy, orangey colour. Difficult to describe, but you can see the colour. I'm putting my other hand. You can see the colour there. It was shaded a bit there. So I've just tried a bit on the back of a petal here, and that looks quite nice, does that? Always make sure that when you're doing this and you're dusting this colour onto the petals, that you support the petals at the back with your hand, particularly since they're just glued on of these. You just hang on, bring the camera up this way, that's it, so you can see what I'm doing. Now the trick is, when we're doing this part, to go lighter as you come further in, because they sort of turn a bit pinky coloured as the flower matures. So onto your brush and off your brush. Don't get too much colour on. And when you get to the centre, don't come quite as far down either. You're not creating a line round the edge of your petals. Remember, in nature, nothing's perfect. Nothing goes exactly as you would expect it to do. You look at any flowers in your garden or in a florist or wherever, and you'll see what I mean. Although in a florist they do pick out the most perfect flowers because you're paying a lot of money for them, so they do tend to be a bit picky what they use in flowers, especially if it's for a wedding or a special arrangement for Mother's Day or whatever. Now for these petals I've got onto the smaller ones here, I'm just giving a touch of colour to those. I'm not going too heavy on them. This is like if you were doing a bicolour rose where you just want a tiny bit of colour just on the very edge of the petals when you get to these central ones. Just to give them a little bit of a lift. Right, so there we are. That's my peony coloured. You can go onto the back and you can finish the back of the petals as well. We'll just do that as well. Just go around the back. You don't need to put as much as colour on the back. The backs are always lighter on everything. It just finishes your flower off. Depends on what you're doing. If you're just doing a specimen flower to go on a cake or something like that, it's nice to finish the backs of it off, because if people can see the back, they can see how much work you've put into it. And then what you need to do then is to dust your calyx as well. Because it's quite dark, I'm going to use some rainforest green on this one. If I can find my green brush, that'll do. Right, so that's the flower finished. If you want to do some leaves, you can go to my other peony video and it shows you on there how to make the leaves. And the leaves are more or less the same on this one as they are on the others. So there we are. That's my open peony. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not a subscriber already. And see you in the next video. Don't forget to leave comments as well. If you've got any suggestions or any questions you want to ask, I've had quite a few just lately on some of my videos. Leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So there we are. My peony. Take care, stay safe, see you soon.